How to finish what you start, also known as how to follow through. Do you struggle with this? Well, that's what I'm hoping to help you with today. Finishing what you start doesn't have to be such a struggle. So if you want to know more about how to follow through, how to get things done, and how to be more productive, then stick around because in this video, I'm going to give you my insights on how to finish what you start. This is part 2 of my latest series here, which is all about how to follow through and how to finish what you start. So let's get to it. So hey there, welcome back. I'm Alicia from Alicia Cohen Designs, where I teach you intentional planning and productivity. If you're new around here, would you please do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button? It means a lot to me, helps support my channel, and it's just really nice to know I have supporters out there, so please give that subscribe button a tap. And now let's get to our topic. So here we go. Part 2 of 4 of this series about how to finish what we start. And just so you know, I'm using finish what you start and follow through interchangeably here in this video. Just wanted you to know. Okay. I want to continue looking at the why under all of this difficulty with finishing what we start because as I mentioned in part 1, I think if we delve into the why that it will make things a whole lot easier for us when we get into the how of all this. Last time in part 1, we covered why don't we follow through and we put follow through in its place. Did you watch part 1? Yeah, watch. Did you watch part 1 yet? If not, go over there in the cards and get caught up. I'm not going to review or recap part 1 in this video, so in order to have things make the most sense, definitely give part 1 a watch first. Go ahead, you know I'll be here, ready to take you through part 2 once you get back. And by the way, if you missed the link over in the corner, it's also linked in the description below. Okay, and if you already caught part 1, sweet. Let's continue on. So here's the plan for today's video. We're going to talk about what did you decide about follow through, and then we're going to cover skill building basics. And if you're listening to this and thinking, what's she talking about? I thought this was a video about finishing what you start. This makes no sense. Then you didn't watch part 1 yet, did you? Go now. I'm not going to tell you again. You need part 1 for part 2 to make sense. So you out there, scroll, link, description, click, go now. Do it. Okay. My part 1 completers, thanks for your patience while I tried to get the part 1 skippers up to speed. Onward. Just like in part 1, I want to take 2 seconds to alert you to that I have a freebie for you. Woohoo! Did you check it out yet? It's in the description below. It's linked there so that you can snag it. It's called the Chaos to Calm Roadmap. Okay, here we are. So what did you decide from last time about working on the skill of follow through? I'm guessing since you're watching part 2 of this series, that you decided that you're in. Nice. Now, remember, it's just a choice for whether or not you want to tackle learning or improving this skill during this particular season in your life. During this particular time, if you have the bandwidth to take on a new skill area in your life, great. But if you don't have the bandwidth right now, that's okay. Still definitely follow along with this series if you'd like. And I'm going to say it again from part 1 just because it's so important. If you are not going to tackle learning or improving your follow-through skill right now, please stop beating yourself up that you're just not good at follow-through. It's just simply not true. Instead, be honest and realistic that you haven't chosen to build that skill yet. For whatever reason, it's okay. And at any time, you can decide to build the skill. It's not personal. It's not an identity. It's not a character problem. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just a learnable skill. And when you're ready, you will knock the socks off of that follow-through skill, okay? Sending you hearts. You got this. Whenever you're ready. Now, before we move on, let's take a look at a few key points just to make sure that we made a solid decision for those of us who are ready to take this on and that we're ready to really take on learning this new skill. Let's check yourself with 4 questions to make sure that you're ready to go with learning a new skill, because there's no point in all being gung-ho in learning a new skill just to have it flop. Then it's kind of like New Year's resolution, and you know how I feel about those, but in case you don't, I'm linking to my playlist over in the cards for you now if you want to hear me talk about how I feel about New Year's resolutions and more in a previous series that I did. So, our 4 questions to see if you're ready to build the follow-through skill. 1. Do you have the time? 2. Is now a good time? 3. do you have the energy? And 4, is your attitude ready to go? So question 1, do you have the time? It doesn't have to be gobs and gobs of time, but if you're going to build a new skill, any skill really, you do need to have some amount of time, whether it's 5 to 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, to invest in building the skill. So think about that. Then question 2, is now a good time? If you've been following me, then you already know this, but just in case, I'm big on knowing your season to inform and direct what you do in your life. So just check in about your season. If you have a newborn, and or you're pregnant, and or you just got a promotion, and or you're moving, and or fill in the blank, it may or may not be a good time to add in building a new skill. Now, I can't decide that for you. Only you know your season and your bandwidth. I just want to call your attention to it so that you can reflect on it. Now, question 3, do you have the energy? If you hang around me long enough, you'll also know that I'm huge on accounting for your time plus your energy when it comes to planning and productivity. So naturally, it applies here. In addition to the time, do you also have the energy to take on building a skill right now? And question 4, is your attitude ready to go? Don't work on follow through because you feel like you have to, or because your spouse told you to, or because your best friend is super good at finishing what she starts and you're trying to keep up with her. Take on building follow through in your life if your attitude and your desires are to create this for yourself. No one else, okay? Your attitude here matters and can make or break whether or not you're successful at improving at the skill of follow through. Okay, we'll continue with our topic in just a moment, but before we get back to it, if you haven't already, would you please hit that subscribe button? As I like to say, you subscribing is kind of like the gasoline for my channel. It keeps things running around here, so please help keep this puppy running and subscribe. Okay, back to it. Time for our second bullet point from the beginning of this video, skill building basics. I have 4 tips for you when it comes to the basics of skill building. Tip number 1. Let's check in about the number of things that you have in mind that you are trying to finish, want to finish, need to finish, etc. How many things are you trying to follow through on all at once? Think about whatever is conscious, but then my hope is that because you're taking a moment to reflect on this, that you'll discover some subconscious ones. That's good. Try to gather them all up, write them down, and then pick one. I know, it's painful. You want to do them all. So do I. But we're going to build success here for you by being simple and strategic. If you were learning to bake a cake, are you going to learn to bake a 3-tiered cake and learn how to do beautiful piping and learn how to create beautiful fondant decorations all at the same time? No, of course not. And if you did, it would probably come out as a bit of a hot mess of a cake, right? So, no hot messes here. Pick one thing. You will get to the other things. I promise. They won't get forgotten. Your mission here is to do one thing well, then the next thing well, and the next thing, and the next thing. And by being intentional, yes, intentional, you know that's my jam for my bread and butter. And by staying strategic and focused, you're going to crush this follow-through thing. Just trust the process. Don't go all eager beaver on me here and end up with a forest of half-chomped trees, okay? Promise me, please? All right, tip number 2. Practice follow-through on little things first, then move on to big things. Again, we want to build success and build confidence. When we're working on a new skill, this is going to be important. When you feel accomplished and good about what you're doing, all sorts of good, positive brain science is going to be happening in your brain. And while I love some good brain science, I'm not going to go there today, but just know that when you accomplish things, good neurochemicals happen in your brain that reinforce you wanting to do more of that. So we want to use this to your advantage and capitalize on this to help with building your new or renewed follow-through skill. So just trust me here, pick little things or easier things to follow through on first, get good at those, feel confident and proud about those before you take on anything bigger. Tip number 3, go for imperfect. Now, before you start rolling your eyes at me here and start telling me to stop spouting out cliches, give me a minute, because you know I don't like cliches and those sorts of things anyways. I only use them when there's something to be gained or learned. So in this case, in the pursuit of building momentum for yourself, building this follow-through skill for yourself, and ultimately building results for yourself, I want you to aim for imperfect. Now, I don't mean sloppy or lazy or whatever other thoughts might be popping into your head right now when it comes to the word imperfection. What I'm referring to here is to allow yourself to get creative here and pursue follow-through in a less than ideal way. Let me explain with an example. A couple of months back, I decided that I was finally going to build the skill for myself of flossing my teeth. I had started flossing and fallen off the wagon countless times in my life. But after a regular dental cleaning appointment that I had, I decided I would give it a go again. However, this time I approached it in a way that I had never done before. I approached flossing in a less than ideal way, or imperfectly. I decided that if perfect was flossing after every meal, or maybe flossing at night so I could get the food out of my teeth from the day, and that perfect was using regular floss that I wrap around my fingers because then I have better control to remove debris from my teeth and so on, that I wasn't going to do any of this. I decided that I would floss in the morning because brain science, that's the best time of day to tackle something new, hard, or unpleasant because we're fresher in the department of motivation than we are at the end of the day. And I decided that I wouldn't use regular floss. I decided I'd use a flosser. Well, wouldn't you know it, in my pursuit of building this skill imperfectly, I actually did it. And the thing that really blew me away that I wasn't expecting was that my resistance to flossing dramatically decreased. Like, brain explosion blew my mind. And now here I am flossing away daily. And sometimes I even floss at night without even thinking much about it. So I share this story here because I totally surprised myself with my results of intentionally pursuing something imperfectly. And I'm wondering what will happen for you when you do the same with building your skill of follow through. What would creative, intentional, less than ideal imperfection look like? I don't have an answer for you specifically, but it's just something that I am throwing out there for you to take a solid look at in your own life. And tip number 4, be a student in this whole process here. What's a student's job? To learn. So what's your job? To learn. Remember that learning involves trial and error, making mistakes, and all that stuff that can be frustrating and leave us in a place where we get down on ourselves. I have 2 phrases that I like to use. Expect the expected, and also expect the unexpected. This is an expect the expected case. What's expected with learning this follow-through skill? Expect that sometimes it will be hard. Expect that sometimes it won't go how you want. Expect that sometimes you might be hard on yourself. However, when we expect the expected, then we can outsmart it. Then we can be like, oh, hey there, expected stuff. I knew you would show up. Welcome to the show. And in this, we can know that it being hard or not going how we want doesn't mean it's not working or we're not learning. It actually means that we are learning because it's part of the process and to be expected. And hopefully in this, we can be kinder to ourselves by remembering that this stuff is expected and not a reflection on us. So I gave you some ideas of expected things that may show up for you, and make sure you take a bit to think about your own expected stuff unique to your own particular life that may predictably show up and how you can be prepared for when it does. Okay, so that's a bunch of good information to reflect on and chew on for today. Next time, we're going to get into my specific recommendations for systems and strategies to put into practice to make this follow-through building thing a reality. So Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that coming your way next week, or if you happen to be watching this a bit further into the future, then part 3 will be linked already in the description below. And before we go, I just want to remind you about my freebie that's also linked in the description below. It's called the Chaos to Calm Roadmap. It's a downloadable PDF that goes through the 6 steps for going from feeling overwhelmed in your life to feeling in control in your life. It's what I use in my own life, and so I created this freebie so that I could share it with you. In the Chaos to Calm Roadmap, I've also included 3 mistakes to avoid when it comes to ditching overwhelm. So go check out my freebie and see what you think. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me. That wraps up part 2 for today. Be on the lookout for part 3 coming your way very soon. And my parting encouragement, as always, if you are feeling overwhelmed today, remember that when it comes to planning and productivity, being intentional plus not giving up means that you are going to get there. Catch you next time. Take good care.